Well, thank you, Kathy. As you probably know, we're going to discuss the benefits of using short descriptions and also present some best practices for creating them. But before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about us and why we got picked to give this webinar. So go to the next slide. All right, so JANA was founded in 1973 in San Antonio, Texas, and it's a family-owned, family-run company. We help our clients implement technology that makes it easier to develop and deliver essential technical information to their customers. Through evaluation and collaboration, we understand the complexity of the client's needs. Then we assemble the correct technologies and methodologies to overcome their immediate challenges to achieve their long-term goals. And Keith?
Hello there. Yes, and I'm from IXIASOFT, and IXIASOFT is the maker of the well-known IXIASOFT DITA CMS, grounded firmly in XML and working with the latest standards. We've been around, as it says here, for just over 15 years, and we have people, literally thousands of people every day who are using our product to produce the documentation that readers require. So yeah, that's about it for us.
Almost. Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Storbeck, and I am a senior structured data analyst at JANA. And I've been in tech documentation for well over 30 years now. And I was actually at IBM working with the team that developed DITA when they first rolled it out in 2001, and was chairman of the DITA Advocates, which was a group that taught DITA to our writing teams at IBM. And then we also served as a did a monthly and sometimes weekly global calls with the writing teams to create best practices for DITA.
And I am Keith Shangley-Roberts. I am the market researcher and DITA evangelist for IXIASOFT. So my role includes trying to understand more about the DITA marketplace, how and why people are using DITA, and anything that can essentially aid them further in their quest to use DITA effectively. So that's part of the evangelist role, much like webinars like this, trying to get the word out about how to use DITA, and trying to shed a light on some aspects of DITA which people may want to know more about, such as writing short descriptions. I don't quite have the same length of experience. I guess I just have a quarter century of experience with technical writing, and I have just over 10 with DITA XML. I was formerly the documentation manager at AMD, and we were one of the very first adopters of DITA way back when. That's at least part of the reason for the gray hair you see in the picture there of me. And I'm also a liaison from IXIASOFT with OASIS, which is a standards body that ratifies and promotes the DITA standards. And I work with the lightweight DITA, the DITA adoption, and the DITA technical committees. Oh, and now one thing I'd like to do is we have a little poll. We actually have a couple of polls that we would like to sort of see where everybody is. So I'm just going to launch this. So the basic question is, very simply, are you using short descriptions? And we're getting results coming in. And we've got 3/4 have voted. Almost 80%. There we are, 80%. And more are coming in. Oh, interesting results here. Okay, so there we are. Okay, I don't know if I can actually show these results, but I can certainly describe them. So what we're getting here is 71% of people are saying yes, in fact, we are using short descriptions. And, oh, there we go. So as you can see there, the majority of the people attending this are in fact using short descriptions, and almost 30% are saying no, they don't. Now, I don't know if necessarily all the people who are attending are using DITA, so that might explain what I would think is a fairly high no response there. But in any event, let's carry on, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to tell you more about not only why short descriptions are good, but also why they're worth doing. So let's carry on. I'm going to hide this now, and back to Joe.
Okay. Thanks, Keith. All right. Well, so what is a short description? Well, it's usually the initial text for a topic. In most outputs, it will appear as a brief paragraph at the beginning of your topic. Some output formats also use the short descriptions as link previews for the link preview text for the topic, and others, short descriptions are important enough that DITA provides a short description element for use immediately after the topic title. So, what does it do? Well, the short description often will clarify what the topic is about and indicate to your reader why they would be why they might want to look over this topic. Now, why use them? I mean, they're optional, and often content creators are they think it's the hardest thing to write, and it's certainly, based on the fact that it's optional, easiest to omit from your topics. Well, one of our colleagues, Don Day, wrote in one of his blogs that of all the DITA elements, the short description is most like a credit card with a loyalty program that rewards you for using it. And what did he mean by that? Well, short descriptions help readers find their information more easily. They serve as a guide for creators who want to write better targeted content for their readers. They improve the search engine optimization, and they appear as hypertext for topic links within the context-sensitive help. They also display alongside topic links within a relationship table, and they serve as a statement of intent for what a topic ought to cover. Effective short descriptions are much harder to write if the topic does not satisfy the following two prerequisites. The topic is limited to a well-defined scope, and it has an effective title that connotes the salient purpose of the topic. So effective short descriptions can help you determine whether or not a reader the topic is pertinent to their needs. In developing quality technical information, which is a excellent book that was written by some of my colleagues when I was at IBM, the authors talk about three characteristics that quality information shares. It's easy to use, easy to understand, and easy to find. If a reader can't find the information they need to use a product, they can become frustrated. And frustrated readers become disenchanted users, and that leads to poor reviews of your content and the product or brand associated with it. To make your content easier for readers to use, understand, and find, content creators need to take the time to craft a suitable short description for each topic. So how do you tell your readers to read your topic? Well, effective short descriptions provide enough context for a reader to understand what the topic conveys.
So what we're showing with this graphic here is that this is basically like a relatively poorly written short description where where individual readers are essentially looking at the bits and pieces of an elephant, and they can see that, well, there's an ear, and there's part of what might be a head, and there's tusks, and hey, look, there's a rump. But I don't know what this all connects to. But a well-written short description will immediately give you an idea that, hey, this topic is about elephants. And that's what we're trying to convey. So essentially a good, well-written short description will give you a glimpse of the whole picture.
Right. Let's look at an example. So in this example, we're going to look at, it's a topic called Introduction to Bird Calling. And the first short description we're going to show you is the following topic contains instructions on how to master bird calling. Now, after you read this topic, you might ignore it, thinking, well, now why should I care about bird calling? I should have mentioned that this is in documentation for the Acme bird feeder. So why do we have in the Acme bird feeder documentation something about bird calling? So in order, this doesn't tell the readers why they should bother. They want to get on to setting up their bird feeder. So to rewrite it, they would say, bird calling attracts birds to your bird feeder. After reading this new short description, the reader's going to say, okay, this topic's going to make sure that I can alert birds that dinner is served, and I'm going to get good results with the bird feeder. In fact, the Acme Corporation has earned my loyalty. Now take a look at this image here. You might remember this from a year or so ago. There was on Twitter and social media trying to figure out what this dress color was. Some people thought it was gold, some people thought it was black, some people thought it was blue. Everybody got involved. Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, Ellen, everybody was tweeting about it. Well, the point we're trying to get through with this illustration is that the content of a short description appears differently depending on your output type. And this is one of the reasons why short descriptions are underutilized, is that it may not be clear to content creators as to where they appear. So, as we said earlier, short descriptions sometimes appear as the initial displayed content, as tooltip descriptions that are displayed when the mouse hovers over a link in context-sensitive help, or as an associated description for a linked topic. Let's take a look at the examples. Here we see one that where the short description is under the links on a web page. And we're talking about what we have here is an example of short descriptions for child web pages appearing on a parent web page immediately following their respective links. And here's an example of how a short description can appear as a tooltip over a topic's link within a relationship table. depending on the output type and set of short descriptions, may or may not appear above body content within a topic. Here's an example of web help content where the short description for a topic appears by default above the body text. And here's the same topic outputted to PDF. And again, the short description appears prior to the body content. You can also use short descriptions in place of body content. There may be a situation where you just don't have too much to say in your topic, and it's just best to keep it brief. And in this case that we see here, this example, that's all there is to the body content, the short description.
Okay, so one other thing that I think is perhaps not terribly well understood by many writers is the fact that good short descriptions also pretty much directly equates with better search engine results for your online technical documentation. So as it says, short descriptions appear within search engine results. You write a good short description, it will appear immediately after the link after somebody does a search on Google. So an effective short description is really important to enhancing search engine optimization. Do not underestimate the usefulness of a short description from this perspective. As you're going to see, it's one of the key ways to help your users find your content. Next slide, please. So here is an actual example. This is again trying to illustrate some sections from IXIASOFT's own documentation set. This is actually looking for a feature called the build manifest feature, and this is quite a handy thing. It actually it helps automatically build a manifest in this case. And in the actual result, the short description from the DITA topic appears immediately after the link. So you have here the IXIASOFT understanding the build manifest feature, then you get the extended URL there in green, then after that in bold follows is the actual title, and what follows after that is, well, that is the actual short description for that particular topic within the documentation. And it says a build manifest is a DITA CMS object that allows you to configure a list of different outputs for a map, for each map, and then ... because it goes on a little bit longer than Google is actually willing to display it at any one go. But from this automatically, you get a better sense as to what this is and how and why you might want to use it. Then we get to the next slide, and I want to have a quick look at this extended search result. So I showed you just the very first result from the first page there, and now let's just go to the next thing. I think we may have. Oh, sorry. No, actually, Joe, can you go back because we're missing there's supposed to be a pop-up graphic here. So the animation isn't coming up.
Yeah. Let me fix it.
Okay. Well, maybe in that. Maybe I'll simply describe it. How's that? So if you actually try doing a search on Google for understanding the build manifest feature, you'll actually come up with several top results that mention that refer to the specific topics within the documentation set. The very first one is the one I showed you on the previous slide, the one that actually has the short description there. And the second result actually just says understanding the build manifest feature. Oh. Okay, and then build manifest is a DITA CMS object that allows, and it's like, well, there's not a whole lot there. Not necessarily a great example of a short description. And then after that comes the third result, which then says add and configure output types. And again, it talks about understanding the build manifest feature. And what actually appears there is, there's no actual short description Oh dear. So as a result, what the user sees is a more sort of scattered look at the content on the topic. Basically, Google is trying to extract information, and doing the best it can, but it's not really giving the whole picture as to why this topic is something you might actually want to read. So, and I recommend you give this a try on Google. You'll see what I mean. If you, as I say, type in "understanding the build manifest feature," you'll see the first 3 results, and you'll see that basically it progresses from a really good example as to how and why short descriptions fully describe what's going on in the topic, to less so, and then what happens when it's completely absent. Okay, so let's go to the next slide then. Okay, so one thing you need to understand is that when it's expressed in HTML, the short description is actually transformed into what's known as you can see here, meta name description, and the content is then the content of your short description. So that's where that actually appears. And this image here is actually extracted from Google Webmasters. They actually have a really honestly, if you're trying to learn more about SEO in general, I would say start with Google Webmasters, because they're very much upfront in telling you how and what exactly it is the search engine is looking for in content, and how to best optimize the content you've got for better search engine results. And one of the actual things that they come up here is that here's one of the sets of meta tags that they actively look for and work with. Okay, next slide, please. So some of their own recommendations for writing good meta descriptions. Now, I say meta descriptions because you and I know that this is going to be transformed from short description content, but their take on this is going to be slightly different, because it's going to be looking at meta descriptions for all content, so not just for tech writing. So keep that in mind. So what do they consider the potential of a good meta description to be? Well, they say the description attribute within the meta tag is a good way to provide a concise, human-readable summary of each page's content. So yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. Far better for you to display you to come up with a good description for the content in your topic than, say, Google having to do it for you. And also, another quote is, make sure your descriptions are truly descriptive. Because the meta descriptions aren't displayed in the pages the user sees, it's easy to let this content slide. So in other words, as we've seen with some of the previous examples that Joe showed, such as in the PDF example, they don't always appear in terms of the short descriptions do not always appear. They're not always visible in the content. So that's why, part of the reason why it's easy to let this sort of thing slide. But high-quality descriptions can be displayed in Google search results and go a long way to improving the quality and quantity of your search traffic. Okay, next slide, please. So one of the ways that you can help ensure that you drive traffic to your tech docs is essentially to make sure that every page on your site has a meta description. And the nice thing is that Google even provides a really nice tool for checking this out at. So there's the URL for it there, and there's you can jot that down, but keep in mind this is recorded, so you can come back to this later if you like. And one of the things it searches for a number of different things on your website, but it searches specifically for things like meta description problems, such as duplicate versions. In other words, where you essentially, in our case, would have multiple topics that actually have the same short description, or what they would call problematic meta descriptions. And the problematic can be essentially just not terribly descriptive or repeating the title, things of that nature. And basically, if Google thinks it's problematic, guess what that's going to do in terms of, search engine rankings and results. Not good things, essentially. And also you want to differentiate the descriptions for your different pages. So if you're following DITA writing best practices, this really shouldn't be a problem. But as I say here, it can't hurt to check. You now have information for a tool provided by Google. Use it, try it on your own docs, assuming that they're externally available, and see what results come up. You may be hopefully pleasantly surprised, and if not, well, gives you an idea as to the sort of work that may be ahead of you. All right, next slide, please. The other thing that is important to consider when looking at search engine rankings and short descriptions is understanding that click-throughs matter. And what a click-through is somebody looks at the material on, the search engine results that appear when you go to a place like Google and search for information. It records how many times people actually click on the link. So, basically, while short descriptions are not directly factored in search engine rankings, in other words, like where it appears within the search engine results page, user behaviors such as click-throughs definitely are. And Google definitely measures things like click-through rates, which they call CTR. So a well-written, descriptive short description ensures that there's going to be more click-throughs because people understand what the thing is, and therefore they're more likely to click on it. You can actually see in this particular result here, I'm highlighting the fact that Google is in fact looking in terms of the analytics at things like, say, the click-through rate. And this is actually an image from their own search console, which again you can actually use on registered websites to delve into site stats and what Google actually measures when people are looking for content on your website. And as I say here, CTR equals click-through rate. All right, next slide, please. So another reason why for writing effective short descriptions is that search engines like Google will not automatically use a short description if it does not consider it to be sufficiently descriptive. So this is another one that falls into the category of being problematic. And the quote from Google is, Google will sometimes use a meta description of a page in search engine snippets if we think it gives users a more accurate description than would be possible purely from the on-page content. So basically, if you're writing a sort of by the numbers or repeating the title in your short description, Google's going to go to that and go, it's not very good, and essentially try to extract equivalent information from, say, the first and second paragraph of your content. And whether or not that's actually going to be accurate is a whole different meaning. So what I'm going to be saying is that if you follow the best practices described in this presentation, you shouldn't hopefully have any problems with this. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so you really do want to have short descriptions per topic type to be able to help with things like SEO. So essentially, here's what you need to think about. So a well-written short description will tell the would-be reader why it's worth clicking on. And we're harping on this point. I realize that we mentioned this a few times, but coming down to the specifics, for task topics, you want to tell users what specifically they can accomplish if they click on this topic. For concept topics, they should tell users about what you are describing and also why they should care about it. So, coming back to that bird feeder example, I'm trying to set up a bird feeder. Why am I interested in bird? Oh, because bird calling can actually bring more birds to my feeder. Got it. Okay, that's why I might want to read it. For references, they should tell users what the reference item does or what it can be used for. So, why would this information be useful to me? Okay, here's the context. Here's why it would actually be able to help me. And for the DITA 1.3 troubleshooting topic type, this should describe the typical symptoms that a user might encounter and then let them know that this topic is essentially here to help them through it. So, these are specific guidelines you can take for writing more effective short descriptions. And by the way, when it comes to search engines like Google, while short description best practices suggest you should have 2 sentences, what you saw there with the earlier IXIASOFT example from the search result is that Google will automatically truncate search results at around the 156 character point. So you really need to put the most important content first. So you may have 2 sentences to display, everything you might want to, but realize that from an SEO perspective, you need to put the most important stuff first. Next slide, please. So another thing to keep in mind is that if you're working with a DITA CMS, short descriptions can also really help your fellow content creators find content for reuse. So one of the things that often comes up is that if you are looking to reuse content and you're a writer and you realize that there is other material within the repository that people might want to work with, it's really not going to be terribly helpful if you have, say, several dozen topics where the title is Introduction, and that's all there is. So an effective short description makes it much easier for your fellow writers to determine which topic is a target for reuse. And you can actually see an example of this on the following slide. This is actually an image taken from the IXIASOFT DITA CCMS, and this is the turning on the short description in the columns field in a search result, and you can actually see along with the this is looking at the this is the standard sort of DITA guide that comes with all versions of the DITA OT. And look at the titles, shelving, windshield washer fluid, garage tasks, spray painting, workbench, snow shop, so on and so forth. And you look at the titles, which are really bare bones. Look at ones that just have a single word like paint, oil, tools. They're not terribly helpful in and of themselves. But look at the short descriptions, which really tell you a lot more. So, for the one for paint is useful for refreshing the look of rooms and furniture. Yep, okay. Motor oil keeps your car's engine running smoothly. So that's why oil is important. Okay, I get that. For tools, invest in a good set of tools for doing all kinds of tasks around the house. Okay, that could probably be tweaked a bit better, but it does give you a sense as to, why these topics are not only useful, but also the context in which they're being used in, and from a writer's perspective, which of these might be eligible for content reuse. And now I'm going to pass it back to Joe.
Thank you, Keith. So let's take a look at the listing of best practices. We've mentioned them at different points throughout the presentation today, but let's put them all in one spot right here. And then we will go over each of these in the following slides. First of all, make sure you write your short descriptions consistently for all of your topics. For task topics, you want to tell users what they can accomplish when they read your topic. Concept topics should tell users about what you are describing and why they should care. Reference topics are going to tell users what the referenced item does or what it can be used for. API topics tell users what the API does, what it's used for, and what it returns. Troubleshooting topics should describe the symptoms of a problem that they are likely to encounter and inform them that this topic can help them solve that problem. Also, do not use cross-references in your short descriptions. Again, we will talk about this in a few slides.
Bad. Don't do that. Bad.
And when converting legacy documents to DITA, you want to resist the temptation to simply copy the first sentence or paragraph and move that into a short description tag. You want to review it and rewrite a good short description. Before I talk about this, I just want to mention about using short descriptions consistently. They should be shouldn't simply be a repeat of the title. If your title explains what the topic is about, then the short description is going to be redundant and it can be omitted. It should never be something that you're using just to satisfy a style guideline. In most cases, it should be possible to create a short description that adds value, but not in all cases. And so the minor inconsistencies resulting from omitting short descriptions is better than furnishing redundant or irrelevant content. So let's look at how to write short descriptions for concept topics. Okay, so like I said, we wanted to the readers to understand not only what they will learn, but why doing so would be directly useful to them. So let's look at a topic called About Fuel Filters. Here's the short description. And you can see it's pretty short. And does it tell the users anything? Why should the user read about the fuel filters? What are fuel filters? And are they important? Well, this short description doesn't tell any of that. So you want to rewrite it. How fuel filters screen out dirt and rust particles from providing fuel injector units with cleaner fuel. And that rewrite explains everything that we were wondering about earlier. Why should they read about it? What are fuel filters? And are they important? For references, short descriptions, you want to make sure that the readers learn how the information in the topic is useful for them and under what circumstances. So here we have a reference topic for a command syntax. And the short description says, this command is used in directories. Now consider what does it do? You know, why is it used? Well, it doesn't tell you in that short description. But in this one, it answers all of the questions that a user would need. For API topics, you want to write short descriptions so that generally, though, for some reason, API topics skip the short description. And that's not a good idea. Because a good short description can provide information to the reader as to whether a particular method, class, or function is pertinent to their needs. And don't forget, your audience could be the programmers who are sitting right next to you, and they want to make sure they get the information they need quickly.
The last thing you want is a grumpy programmer sitting right next to you saying, hey, where's that information I know I sent to you?
Right. So here's an example. The API topic is called Get Code Method. Returns the status code from the data listener. All right, that tells you everything that that you're going to need for that API. What about this one? It's called Data Store Def Fed. Accesses federated store info. All right. Well, it tells you that the class is used to access federated data, but that's it. What does it do with the information it accesses? Is there anything else?
a typical programmer could probably just look at the name of that and go, well, yeah, that's what it actually says. So that doesn't tell you much at all.
So a rewrite is going to give you the information that you need and make your grumpy programmer a little happier.
Short descriptions are a great way to help make programmers less grumpy.
All right, so when you are writing for troubleshooting topics, this is a new topic type that was introduced in DITA 1.3. And it allows content creators to focus on addressing and solving specific problems users might encounter. So let's take a look at this one. The troubleshooting topic is called Acme Bear Trap Closes Prematurely. See, Wiley is trying to catch the Roadrunner, and the short description says how to troubleshoot issues with your Acme Bear Trap. Well, what we see here is instead you want to focus on the situation that you're likely to encounter and make it clear the value of the troubleshooting topic. So we would rewrite this, find out how to adjust the spring sensitivity in order to prevent the trap going off prematurely.
And so please note that Wiley is in fact doing the wrong thing. He has not read the docs. He is trying to use an oil can, where in fact he really should be trying to adjust the spring. So, you know, just think, if Wiley had read the docs, if he had a better short description for the content for the Acme Bear Trap, he would not end up in, well, we all know what happens to Wiley, so yeah.